Right now, in the frozen wilderness of Alaska, a volcano has just violently erupted, hurling a massive ash cloud thousands of feet into the sky. This is not a drill. Scientists are watching in absolute horror as the plume expands at a terrifying speed, darkening the skies across hundreds of miles. Emergency alerts are blaring across coastal communities. Flight operations are being grounded. And the worst part? Experts have no idea if this is just the beginning. What's unfolding beneath the surface could trigger something far more catastrophic. The clock is ticking. The eruption began without warning. 1 minute. Seismic monitors were recording minor tremors. The next, a deafening explosion tore through the mountain summit, releasing decades of pent-up magma and gas in a single, violent burst. Ash, rock, and superheated steam rocket upward in a towering column that pierces through cloud cover, visible from communities over 100 miles away. The sound echoes across valleys and fjords like thunder that refuses to stop. Residents in nearby towns step outside to find the sky turning an ominous shade of gray. The sun disappears behind a veil of volcanic particles. Within minutes, ash begins to fall like snow, thick, abrasive, suffocating. Emergency sirens wail across fishing villages and remote settlements. People grab their children, their pets, anything they can carry, and rush toward evacuation zones. Roads clog with vehicles as families flee in panic. But the ash cloud is moving faster than anyone anticipated. It spreads outward in every direction, swallowing entire valleys in a matter of minutes. Visibility drops to zero. Drivers abandon their cars on highways, unable to see more than a few feet ahead. The air becomes unbreathable. Ash clogs engines, coats windows, and infiltrates homes through the smallest cracks. Residents tape doors and windows shut, but it's already too late. The fine particles seep inside, coating furniture, floors, lungs. At the Alaska Volcano Observatory, scientists stare at their screens in disbelief. The data streaming in is unlike anything they've seen in recent history. Seismic activity beneath the volcano is spiking at unprecedented levels. Magma is surging upward from deep within the Earth's crust, filling chambers that have been dormant for decades. The pressure inside the mountain is immense, and every instrument is screaming that this eruption is far from over. One geologist mutters into a headset, his voice shaking. This could go on for days, maybe weeks. We don't know. Another looks up from her monitor, her face pale. If the main chamber ruptures, we're talking about a catastrophic event. Villages could be buried. The entire region could be uninhabitable. The Federal Aviation Administration issues an immediate airspace closure over Alaska and parts of the northern Pacific. Commercial flights are diverted mid-route, forced to reroute thousands of miles to avoid the expanding ash cloud. Volcanic ash is lethal to aircraft. It melts inside jet engines, causing total engine failure. Pilots are trained to avoid it at all costs. But this cloud is growing so fast that even rerouted planes are struggling to stay clear. At Anchorage International Airport, arrivals and departures grind to a halt. Passengers crowd terminals, staring up at screens flashing red cancellation notices. Outside, the sky darkens to twilight even though it's midday. Ash begins to coat the runways in a fine, gray powder. Ground crews scramble to cover engines and equipment, but there's no stopping the relentless fallout. Back near the volcano, the situation deteriorates by the minute. The ash column continues to climb, now reaching altitudes where commercial jets typically cruise. Satellite images show the plume stretching across hundreds of miles, a sprawling gray mass drifting eastward with the prevailing winds. Coastal towns directly in its path brace for impact. Emergency management officials issue urgent warnings. Stay indoors, seal all openings, do not attempt to travel. But for many, it's already too late to escape. Roads are impassable. Airports are closed. The ash is everywhere. Scientists scramble to understand what triggered this sudden, violent eruption. Initial data suggests that a massive influx of fresh magma from deep within the mantle forced its way upward, fracturing rock and destabilizing the volcano's entire structure. This wasn't a gradual buildup. This was a rapid, catastrophic surge. And the tremors haven't stopped. If anything, they're intensifying. Seismometers across the region are picking up continuous ground shaking, a signal that magma is still moving, still rising. The mountain is not finished. In the communities closest to the eruption, chaos reigns. Power lines snap under the weight of accumulating ash. Transformers explode in showers of sparks, plunging entire neighborhoods into darkness. Without electricity, water pumps fail. Communication networks collapse. Cell towers, coated in abrasive ash, begin to malfunction. Residents lose contact with the outside world. Emergency responders struggle to reach isolated homes, their vehicles stalling as ash clogs air filters and exhaust systems. Helicopters cannot fly. Roads are buried. People are trapped. A family of 4 huddles in their basement, listening to the muffled roar of the eruption through walls and floors. The father wraps damp towels around the door frame, trying to keep the ash out, but it's a losing battle. The air inside tastes metallic, gritty. His wife covers their children's faces with cloth masks, but the fabric quickly becomes saturated with fine particles. The youngest child coughs violently. They have no way to call for help. Their phone has no signal. The radio in the corner crackles with static, then goes silent. They are alone. At a nearby fishing dock, workers scramble to secure boats and equipment, but the ash fall is too intense. Vessels are coated in thick layers of gray sludge. The water in the harbor turns murky, choked with volcanic debris. Fish begin to float to the surface, dead from suffocated gills and poisoned water. The local economy, already fragile, is collapsing in real time. Fishing operations are halted. Processing plants shut down. Hundreds of jobs evaporate in an instant. But survival is the only priority now. Workers abandon their posts and flee inland, joining the exodus of terrified families. The National Guard is mobilized, but even their resources are stretched thin. Convoys of trucks loaded with emergency supplies, water, food, breathing masks, attempt to reach cut-off communities, but the roads are treacherous. Visibility is near zero. Ash drifts across highways in thick, shifting layers, making driving nearly impossible. One convoy loses a vehicle when it skids off the road into a ditch, its engine choked by volcanic particles. The driver and passengers are rescued, but the supplies are lost. Every delay costs lives. Meanwhile, scientists detect something even more alarming. The volcano's crater is now glowing red, visible even through the dense ash cloud. Lava is beginning to breach the surface. Molten rock, superheated to over 2,000 degrees, spills over the rim and cascades down the mountain slopes. It incinerates everything in its path: trees, brush, snow, ice. Steam rises in massive plumes as lava meets glacial ice, triggering violent explosions. The combination of lava, ash, and steam creates pyroclastic flows, fast-moving avalanches of gas and rock that race down the mountainside at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. These flows are deadly. Nothing survives in their path. A ranger station on the lower slopes is directly in the path of one such flow. The 2 rangers inside receive a frantic radio message: evacuate immediately. They grab their gear and sprint to their truck, but they are too late. The pyroclastic surge overtakes them in seconds. The station is obliterated, reduced to ash and rubble. The rangers are never seen again. The eruption's impact is no longer confined to Alaska. The ash cloud, now stretching over 1,000 miles, drifts eastward into Canada. Communities in the Yukon begin reporting ashfall. The sky turns gray. Residents are warned to stay indoors. Schools close. Hospitals prepare for an influx of respiratory cases. The Canadian government activates emergency protocols, but they are caught off guard. No one expected an Alaskan eruption to reach this far, this fast. Back at the volcano, the situation shows no signs of stabilizing. Seismic activity remains at critical levels. Magma continues to surge upward, refilling chambers as quickly as they empty. Scientists warn that the current eruption could be a precursor to something far worse. The volcano sits on a geologically unstable fault line, and the immense pressure from the eruption could trigger earthquakes across the region. Nearby dormant volcanoes could be awakened. The entire Pacific Ring of Fire is interconnected, a vast network of tectonic plates and volcanic systems. One major eruption can destabilize others. At the Alaska Volcano Observatory, exhausted scientists work around the clock, analyzing data, issuing warnings, coordinating with emergency agencies. But they are operating in the dark. Instruments near the volcano have been destroyed by the eruption. Satellite data is obscured by the ash cloud. They are making life or death decisions based on incomplete information. One researcher pounds his fist on a desk in frustration. We need more data. We're flying blind here. Another shakes her head. Even if we had the data, I'm not sure we'd know what's coming next. This thing is behaving erratically. It's not following any model. Survivors in the affected zones face an increasingly desperate reality. Food supplies are running low. Water is contaminated with ash. Breathing masks are in short supply. Hospitals are overwhelmed with patients suffering from respiratory distress, ash inhalation injuries, and trauma. Doctors work by flashlight and generator power, performing triage in hallways and waiting rooms. Ambulances can't reach remote areas. People die waiting for help that never arrives. A mother cradles her infant son in a makeshift shelter, a high school gymnasium converted into an evacuation center. The air inside is thick with the smell of sweat, fear, and ash. Hundreds of people crowd the space, lying on cots, sitting on the floor, staring blankly at walls. Supplies are distributed in rations, 1 bottle of water per person per day, a single meal. The baby cries, his lungs irritated by the ash-laden air. The mother has no medicine, no way to soothe him. She rocks him gently, whispering promises she's not sure she can keep. We'll get through this. We'll be okay. But she doesn't believe her own words. Outside, the eruption continues unabated. The ash column now reaches into the stratosphere, where high-altitude winds carry volcanic particles thousands of miles across the globe. Climate scientists warn that if the eruption continues, it could have worldwide consequences. Volcanic ash reflects sunlight, cooling the atmosphere. Prolonged eruptions have historically caused global temperature drops, leading to crop failures, famines, and economic collapse. The eruption of Mount Tambora in 1815 triggered the year without a summer, devastating agriculture across Europe and North America. Could history repeat itself? In Alaska, the immediate threat is survival. But in Washington, policymakers are already calculating the broader implications. If this eruption continues for weeks, if it escalates, the economic and environmental damage could be catastrophic. Aviation across the northern hemisphere could be paralyzed. Supply chains could collapse. Food shortages could ripple across continents. And there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. You can't shut down a volcano. You can only wait, watch, and hope it runs out of fuel. But the fuel is far from exhausted. Deep beneath the volcano, magma reservoirs that have been accumulating pressure for decades are now draining upward in a violent release. Geologists estimate that millions of cubic meters of molten rock are involved in this eruption. It could continue for months. And if the main chamber ruptures completely, the resulting explosion would dwarf anything seen so far. It would be a VEI 5 or 6 eruption, large enough to reshape the landscape, bury entire regions, and alter the climate. Night falls over Alaska, but the darkness is absolute. No stars, no moon. Only the faint, hellish glow of lava lighting the horizon, pulsing through the ash cloud like a heartbeat. The temperature drops. Ash-covered snow turns into a toxic slush. People huddle around dying fires, burning whatever they can find for warmth. Communication with the outside world remains sporadic at best. Rescue operations are stalled. No one is coming. And still, the volcano roars. Scientists stare at their monitors, watching the seismic needles swing wildly, recording tremor after tremor. They've stopped trying to predict what happens next. The volcano has become unpredictable, a force of nature beyond human understanding or control. One geologist leans back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. "This isn't over," he says quietly. "Not even close." Another nods. The question isn't if it gets worse. It's how much worse. Beneath the surface, deep in the magma chamber, pressure continues to build.